What is going on, Babylonians? It's me, Songs of Rage, back with another Battlefield 2042 video to bring to you. And a few days ago, we did have it released of the other 5 specialists that are going to be heading our way with the full release of Battlefield 2042. And there's going to be some very interesting ones to throw into the mix. And the fact that we've got these on top of what we've already had access to in the beta, I feel like most of the time people went for the grapple gun over that, and in terms of like the specialist kind of abilities that they brought to the table, it wasn't really anything that was kind of like too special. There wasn't much that would actually kind of like separate them or identify them too much. It was a nice little perk to be able to have, like to be able to aim down sights and move around a little bit faster, or to have that surveillance kit for people that are kind of like nearby. But the stuff that we've seen in this trailer really do kind of set these apart, and it almost makes them feel a little bit overpowered compared to that. So it's going to be interesting to see how they've actually kind of balanced this in terms of the other 5 that we actually had access to. But let's break it down, let's have a quick look into it, and let's see what we're kind of expecting from this game when it drops. Alright, so first up on the trailer we had Navin Rau, and Navin Rau, his speciality is the Cyber Warfare Suite, and his trait is the Trojan Network. Now what that kind of means in terms of gameplay is the Trojan Network, when killing it, you essentially hack a target first. Whether they're going to have some kind of like visual indicator to let them know that they've been hacked is something that we're going to be yet to see. But killing that target reveals enemies around them, so it's going to do like an area of effect. It's going to let us know who's basically around, and after we've killed them, it kind of gives them a red outline, as you're going to be able to see in the trailer, through walls, so you're going to know where those people are. So the idea, potentially how this could work, is you hack someone just before you come up some stairs inside a building, you kill that target, and all of a sudden all of his friends have been pinged and been marked for yourself. Now it's going to be also interesting to see if it's actually going to go marked for every other teammate that's nearby as well. That we don't know just yet. But also what was kind of interesting that it's a slight detail that we haven't seen before, which is the M5A3, which is the weapon that's being used currently. Actually had a mag size of 41, and that 41 is completely unique to what we experienced in the beta. I don't think we had a mag size that was that high, so it'll be interesting to see if that's going to be chambered in the 5.56 or the standard rounds that were in the game, rather than like a close quarters or a close combat kind of thing. So there's definitely more attachments heading on our way, so that is good news. So that's something that we're going to be looking forward to. When it came to the Cyber Warfare Suite, this instantly reminded me of Watch Dogs, and the fact that you can just hack enemy equipment and in-world objects, and it's the in-world objects that really gets me on this one, because in the trailer you get to see like a roadblock get put up just to be able to stop like a jeep, and obviously that just closes down that point for any kind of like vehicles to be able to come through, unless they've got their own version of Navin, who will be able to like obviously retract that back down. So it'll be interesting to see what other kind of interacts there will be around in the worlds, in the levels, but overall it's not a bad thing. It's not a bad option. It's just a case of, does it have enough killing power? Does it have anything to be able to add to it? And personally, from the get-go, I'm going to say no. So it's going to be interesting to see, like I said, what that interacts with, just to be able to set them apart from every other class. Next up, we have Santiago Espinosa, and they bring with them the Sub 8 ballistic shield and the trait of being blast resistant. Now, obviously, bulletproof shields are, not exactly uncommon to be able to see out and about in the game, in games just in general. Obviously, Call of Duty has done them quite well, so it's going to be great to see Battlefield bring in their own version of this. I believe they have had like riot shields in like Battlefield 4, but it was rarely ever used. So it's going to be interesting to see if this is going to be used. We also got to see in the clip a version of the MP9. And this had like a decent sized mag of about 43, so we're going to be seeing a lot of new guns heading our way, so that's going to be great to see. Now, with the blast resistant trait, you take less harm and recover faster from explosive damage, so all those kind of grenade spams, all those kind of corridors, you're going to do quite well down there. So it just means that you won't be dying from just one random stray grenade, or maybe just one kind of rocket as well. So it's quite nice to have. Whether it's going to be impactful is yet to be seen. And then we've obviously got the ballistic shield, where you can carry that shield that protects from incoming projectiles. So the idea is that obviously you just stare straight at an enemy, and obviously you just don't take any kind of damage coming your way. What was really interesting that I noticed in the trailer was that the person was shooting the shield, and I will slow it down for you. And you get the kill. From what I can tell, no gun, nothing is being used to be able to shoot back. So maybe there's some kind of like deflection altogether, that the projectile actually comes straight back at the attacker, or maybe you actually get the assist kill for just obviously being like a distraction, that kind of way. It'd be interesting to see how that kind of works. Because if it's a case that it just rebounds back, and obviously there's no like health or any kind of like cooldown for it, then it may potentially be overpowered depending on the map. But we'll see how that comes across. We'll see what happens. Next up, we have Emma Sundance Roja, and this is the one that's really kind of like dividing the community right now, which is kind of it's crazy. As soon as I went this trailer first time, yeah, I genuinely thought there potentially is a problem here, but it'll be interesting to see how, like I say, how it's balanced, how all of these operators are balanced compared to obviously the first ones that we had in the beta, or if maybe the ones in the beta have been buffed. So in terms of Emma, we've got the speciality, which is smart explosives, and the trait, which is the wingsuit, which obviously we got to see in the first trailer, and pretty much is kind of been like a staple, or like at the forefront for Battlefield 2042's. Now, if we look at the wingsuit, you are able to traverse great distances, and it mentions surprising the enemy, and the trailer really does a good job of being able to show that off. Obviously, I don't expect many opportunities for that to be happening, but it's definitely a really good clip. I'm really impressed with how they've managed to pull that one off, to be fair. As for the practicality of the wingsuit, it's definitely one I want to get my hands on. I've always wanted to be able to use the grapple and the wingsuit, so it doesn't look like I'm necessarily going to be able to get away with using both, but there is also potential. Maybe there's a mix and match that we can do for that as well. As for the wingsuit, is it practical in a sense compared to all the other abilities we've seen? Not really. It would be quite fun to be able to get yourself onto the highest point of a building and just seeing where you can actually go with it. Maybe be able to even do something crazy and take out air vehicles if you manage to get the wingsuit and the flight just right. Maybe with some like C4 or something, but I'm sure that the Battlefield community is going to get some kind of clip for that. We also do get to see a 12M auto, and from what I can tell, it is a shotgun. So we've definitely got a few things coming our way. At least I think it's a shotgun anyway. It kind of gives me the impression it is anyway. And next up we have the smart explosives, where it says use a versatile set of anti-armor, EMP, and scatter grenades. Now, most of those don't sound too bad. Like, EMPs, don't see any problems with that whatsoever. I feel like that's one of the things that Battlefield's kind of missed. But we've got to be careful, obviously, in terms of like grenade spam. That obviously it could be BMing if a group of you or a squad just walk up to a tank and just start chucking EMP grenades down for the whole game, just to really wind some people up. But we also have scatter grenades, and you get to see like a decent kind of explosion radius of that, and what to expect from that. So that's pretty nice. It's different from like the standard grenades that you could be chucking out. So that I don't have an issue with that one. The one I do have potentially an issue with is the anti-armor, because you get to see it in the trailer that it's literally just a chuck and forget, and this will end up going and tracking like helicopters, as it mentions in the trailer, and it just blows it up. Now, obviously, we don't know how weak that helicopter was. We don't know how much damage this grenade is expected to do. We don't know if it can like blow up a tank in like 1 to 2 grenades. We don't know anything just yet. So obviously, it's not really cause for concern just yet until we find out the actual damage figures that we're going to be seeing that kind of like produce. But just know that we're now going to be having some kind of homing tracking grenades for vehicles to go alongside any kind of like rocket, obviously the Stingers and the other rocket launchers that we are expecting in this game. So it's, I don't know. I'm going to reserve my judgment until I've seen it like firsthand and I've got to experience it first. But it does have me a little bit worried, that's all. Penultimate is GSUPEG, which is more of a recon class, who has the EMGX scanner as a specialty and the trait of threat perception. So this was also another one that potentially could cause another issue, but we'll have a quick look at this. So the threat perception automatically spots enemies who deal damage to you. Now, as people have quite rightly so, kind of pointed out that in multiplayer, I don't think this is really going to cause any kind of issues. I think it's kind of niche. It doesn't really help you with it. If you're already being shot at, it kind of helps your teammates around you rather than yourself. So it's not exactly going to save any like your life or anything like that. So if we then go from there to the EMGX scanner, which displays an electromagnetic overlay of hostiles in cover. This is the other thing that worries people, because, and I will cause like a freeze frame here, just to be able to show you that you can see people through walls at quite a distance as well, and it makes me worried that, one, is this just for yourself, which potentially is going to be is probably going to be the case. So obviously it's not that broken then if it is the case. Two, this is wall hacks, which if it just depends on how what kind of criteria the enemy needs to make or kind of meet to be able to be tagged on this thing. If it's a case of they can be tagged just regardless, just because they're within a certain distance of yourself, I think that's a bit too much. If they are just standing still, and they have been for, say, like 1 to 2 seconds, for example, and as soon as they start moving after that kind of time period, they disappear from it, I think that would potentially be balanced. We just don't really get to see enough of it in the trailer just to be able to confirm if that is the case or not. So I do think it's a great way to be able to deal with campers. But on the other side of things, I do think it needs some kind of criteria to be able to make sure it's not being abused to like a really high extent, especially since this potentially could be one of the most used gadgets that are out there. So yeah, we'll definitely see how that kind of comes across when the full game does drop. And then lastly, we have Konstantin Angel, who has the specialty of Loadout Crate and the trait of Trauma Specialist. And this one does interest me, to be fair. I don't know how viable this actually will be just in gameplay, but it definitely has its quirks, and I would be interested to see if I can try and get this to work quite well. So the Trauma Specialist revives allies rapidly and restores their armor. Obviously, it's very similar to the other Medic Woman that we had back in the beta, and overall, it's not a bad ability. It's definitely not. It's probably going to be to do more with maybe Hazard Zone in that kind of sense, because obviously you want to be able to keep your teammates alive more often. Obviously, it's still kind of viable in the standard like Conquest, multiplayer, that kind of side of things, but it's probably going to be more important over there. And then lastly, we have the Loadout Crate, which provides armor, ammo, and new loadouts to yourself and allies. So we do see that this takes a little while to be called in, to drop down. Obviously he gets attacked while he's doing it, and it just allows you to swap between the kits. Now this is the other thing that I'm going to potentially pick up on. Are we going to be able to customize these kits? We don't know that just yet. There is a good chance that that will be the case, and in which case then yes, it's quite nice. It will be technically be like a slow version of One Man's Army from Modern Warfare 2, the good old days. But is it going to be viable? I suppose it could help with mixing up kind of like the environments and all that kind of thing. So it'll be interesting to see how Levolution and all that kind of thing will actually affect this game as well. We do actually get to see a new gun as well, which is the AC-42. And we do actually get to see another sniper rifle there as well in the Loadout Crate, which is the DXR-1. So we're going to see a heavier kind of caliber sniper rifle by the looks of things, and we are going to see a nice bullpup, kind of like a TAR by the looks of things, version to the AC-42. So we've definitely got a few new guns coming our way, and it's going to be great to be able to start experimenting. We do also see a machine pistol as well, which is the MP28 over there on the sniper as well. So we might actually see full auto sidearms making a return to Battlefield 2042. So it's going to be interesting. We also have an insertion beacon as well. I've just noticed that, and that's potentially going to be... I feel like that was the one thing that was missing from the beta. And I could potentially kind of understand why that was the case. Just obviously because it's like experimental servers, all that kind of thing. But I'm glad to see that that is actually making a return. That's basically confirmed. So overall, this has been a very good trailer, and it's actually given us a nice insight as to what to expect when the full game does drop. And it does actually have me excited. I'm looking forward to seeing which of these are actually going to work out quite well in the multiplayer, which of them work out in Hazard, and which obviously work well across both platforms. And there we have it. That's pretty much the trailer all wrapped up. All the little things that have been kind of like shown off to us. All the things that you may have potentially missed when the first time you've watched it. And overall, I'm very hyped for this game. I'm really looking forward to it. I'm a bit worried about a couple of the specialists and a couple of the abilities, but I'm sure we've got plenty of time for them to iron that out. Make sure that it is completely balanced and completely fair. And if not, I'm sure that will all be picked up in the first couple of weeks of that when the game does actually drop. Overall, I'm very hyped for it. I'm really looking forward to it, and it's just shy of 3 weeks away until I actually go, well, until myself and Dan Wes actually get our hands on this, and along with all the other people that have actually pre-purchased to be able to get the early access to it as well. Just remember, it is just shy of 4 weeks away for people that have just ordered pre-ordered the standard game, and obviously if they're planning to buy it nearer the time as well. Hopefully I've given you some kind of insight. If you have and you've enjoyed, make sure you drop a like and a subscribe. We will be covering a lot of Battlefield 2042 content as soon as that drops, and this is definitely going to be the place to be able to be around, to be able to keep an eye out and keep up to date with everything that's going on. But we're definitely still doing some more gun guides, and it's nice to know that we've got a lot of guns that are going to be coming our way to be able to keep you all interested as well. As always, make sure you click a like and subscribe, and keep yourself safe, keep yourself well, and I'll see you all on that next video.